dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky. This is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Jack Demler. A case of child neglect in southern West Virginia has 2 women facing charges. Police say they found deplorable conditions inside a home in Williamson, and 2 kids had to be removed. Andrew Colgrove has details from Mingo County.
I just hope and pray that the kids are better taken care of.
Next-door neighbor Kenneth May is wishing he could have gotten help for the children who lived here sooner.
I wish I would have done more to help them.
Investigators say Tuesday they found human and dog waste on the floors and bedding in this house along West 4th Avenue in Williamson. Kenneth says, yes, there was a very foul odor coming from this property, but he says there were always piles of trash on the porch outside, and he just assumed the smell was coming from that, and he didn't know how bad it was inside.
They had trash all around this porch.
Deputies say they came here after a complaint about the garbage. The criminal complaints say at first the women who live here, Christy Hatfield and Sharon Simpson, would not let them inside to check on the children. Deputies say the 2 kids had to be taken to the hospital.
It's sad that those people we thought were good people would put 2 young children in that situation.
They also say they found 4 dogs inside in rough shape without enough food or water.
I feel awful for the babies. I feel awful for them.
The owner of the house, Will Coleman, says he had been renting to the women for 4 years, but says they never let him inside, saying they were afraid their dog would bite him.
I just hope the ladies get their lives together and try to live better.
Both suspects face charges including child neglect, cruelty to animals, and obstruction. Andrew Colgrove, WSAZ News Channel 3, Williamson.
Chief Deputy Alan Mounts with the Mingo County Sheriff's Department says the children are in the custody of CPS.
Well, we're getting some reports and some pictures across eastern Kentucky this evening of, yes, the northern lights. Take a look at this from Knott County this evening, and you can see a strong solar storm producing some northern lights here in our region. And this is from Knott County. This picture here comes from Campton over in Wolfe County. You can see some more northern lights there. And actually, I took this picture from Hazard, and you can see once again a spectacular show this evening. Some awesome viewing conditions as well as skies continue to clear. So be sure to be outdoors and look up and see that. You will need to be away though from those city lights. Up on the radar, tracking some dry weather, also some clearing skies to go into this evening, and those temperatures also cool on this Friday evening compared to where we should be for the middle of May. Most of us in the middle to lower 50s. Up to 53 in Pikeville, 55 in London, 54 over in Somerset at this hour. Most of us wind up in the 40s to wake up and kick off this weekend. Some more below average weather on the way tomorrow, but we see some sunshine by Mother's Day on Sunday. More details on that Mother's Day forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Jack?
All right, Cameron, thank you. Those northern lights were truly a beautiful sight to be seen. Authorities are investigating a fire in Clay County. The fire destroyed a church on Kentucky 421 in Clay County, about 6 miles from Manchester. The fire started in a storage building, but quickly spread to destroy the church on Wednesday. Then, earlier today, firefighters were called to another building nearby. Now, people are questioning if both fires are related.
Well, there's a lot of memories. There's a ton of memories there, and a lot of stuff that we had personally, like, Bibles that had personal information in them. And
the ATF is among those looking for a cause. We are still working to hear from investigators on what may have caused either fire. The former Perry County Commonwealth's attorney has pleaded guilty to committing honest services wire fraud. Scott Blair was arrested last month and is now admitting he helped people in court in exchange for methamphetamine and sexual favors. He resigned shortly after his arrest. The investigation was conducted by Kentucky State Police, the Attorney General's office, and the FBI. Blair faces up to 20 years in prison. One Laurel County official is suing a woman for defamation. London Mayor Randall Weddle is suing Sherry Smith for reportedly sharing defamatory statements about Weddle on Facebook between 2023 and 2024. In the lawsuit, Weddle's team is seeking compensation for damages along with court costs and attorney fees. Smith's team filed to dismiss the case. At a hearing today, the judge took the case into submission. The Powell County Sheriff's Office needs your help finding a wanted man. Jeremy Spencer is wanted on charges of trafficking fentanyl and resisting arrest. He's from Breathitt County, but he could also be in Wolf, Perry, or Fayette County. He drives a blue 2010 Honda CR-V. If you see him, the Sheriff's Office says you can call dispatch or message them on social media. State police are looking for 2 teens who went missing, and they are warning you to not approach them. Troopers say Balin Milliner and Jeremiah Fulton ran away from the Middlesboro group home last night. Milliner is 16 years old and is described as being 5 feet 6 inches tall and weighing about 145 pounds. Fulton is 17 years old and described as 5'4" and weighing about 135 pounds. If you see them, you are asked to contact law enforcement immediately. Kentucky Attorney General Russell Coleman is one of more than 20 other state attorneys general suing the ATF. It's an attempt to push back on a new rule from the Biden administration. The new rule from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives requires anyone who sells a firearm to obtain a federal firearms dealer license. In a statement from his office, Attorney General Coleman claims the rule could, quote, potentially criminalize ordinary Americans. The lawsuit by the coalition of 21 attorney generals argues that the rule is vague and violates the Second Amendment, making it unconstitutional. A new report from the Biden administration says Israel may have violated international humanitarian law in Gaza and may be misusing U.S. weapons. But the report was inconclusive and says the U.S. cannot make a definitive assessment. CBS News correspondent Willie James Inman has more from Washington.
In a highly awaited report to Congress, the Biden administration says Israel's use of weapons provided to it by the U.S. in Gaza potentially violated international humanitarian law. However, the report prepared by the State Department says American officials were hampered in their efforts to determine that for certain because of wartime conditions in the Palestinian territory. It comes as President Biden put a pause on sending some weapons to Israel that could possibly be used in a major Israeli military operation in Rafah.
I think it's feckless on the part of the Biden administration. I think it's really important to note that Hamas has said they want every day to be like October 7th.
As Israel works to eliminate Hamas, the State Department report says the IDF has the experience, technology, and know-how to minimize harm to civilians. But the analysis found that, quote, the results on the ground, including high levels of civilian casualties, raise substantial questions as to whether the IDF is using them effectively in all cases. Speaking in South Carolina, U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin discussed Gaza's rising death toll.
There have been far too many civilian casualties thus far. We would like to see that trend change. So that's really our focus.
Meanwhile, the UN General Assembly overwhelmingly backed a resolution that would effectively recognize a Palestinian state. The U.S. and Israel abstained from the vote, and later, standing before the General Assembly, Israel's ambassador shredded the UN Charter. Willie James Inman, CBS News, Washington.
The Hamas-run health ministry reports close to 35,000 Palestinians have been killed in the war, including Hamas fighters, but also thousands of civilians, most of them women and children. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, hundreds of senior citizens gathered for the start of the 37th annual Big Sandy Senior Games.
Plus, we are tracking some more sunshine for Mother's Day. Your weekend forecast after this break.